So today on Hastings Happenings, we have a very special guest. Lisa Valentine is here. Lisa is a local Hastings author and has a new book out that she's going to be promoting here in downtown Hastings this weekend. Lisa, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Tom.
Yeah. So tell us your background. How long have you lived in Hastings?
We have lived here for 20 years, moved here in 2000. So
okay.
We are glad to call Hastings home. Really
okay.
like it here.
So you're newcomers.
Yes. It's a good sign of a community when lots of people stick around. We clearly found that out.
Yes, it is. And being in real estate, there's not a lot of turnover in people that have lived here 20, 30 years. And so it does say something about Hastings being a great place to live. So it's wonderful.
Yes.
What made you choose Hastings 20 years ago?
It had to do with where our family was located, and we took a look around, and as we explored Hastings, and the rivers, and close enough to the cities, but still its own unique community, just really appealed to us.
Yeah, me too. I think that's you can go up for a hockey game, or you can go out to eat, or to the play or something in Guthrie, and then come back to Hastings at night. So it's perfect. So today we want to talk about your new book, which is, tell us the name of it. Tell us what your, why you wrote the book, and you're writing it with your sisters. Some of it has to do with COVID and 2020 and all of the crazy stuff happening this year.
I love to talk about the book because it's something that I went to, a year ago. I'm a writer, and I've wanted to publish books. I blog, so I've been published that way, but I have never published a book. It's been a dream of mine, but I didn't dream it would play out the way that it did. And some of my sisters are writers. I had 7 sisters. One of our sisters died of metastatic breast cancer in 2019. And then a few months later, we're facing the pandemic, and another sister gets diagnosed with cancer and starts treatment just as the pandemic, and we're going out into shelter in place and things like that. So, and I work in a school, and I familiar with National Poetry Month, which is April. We've done some things at school, and so things are getting really interesting in late March, and then I consider, how about a poem a day challenge for April for myself? And I write poetry, I write essays. I hadn't been doing as much poetry, so I thought the discipline would be good. Write a poem a day for April. And, my sisters and I are reeling from the news of my sister Aileen getting diagnosed. And so I put out to them, anybody I'm doing this in April, poem a day. If any of you want to join me, let's see where it goes. And we start, sharing some of those poems on our emails and on text. And we had started Zoom calls right at the end of March. And we do those every Sunday, the sisters, the 7 of us.
Okay.
And so we started sharing these poems back and forth, and it kind of took on a life of its own.
Wow.
So, and then by the time we're done with April, and all 7 of us contributed. And some of us, I do a lot of writing. A couple of us are pretty prolific writers, and some write very little. So I didn't know what to expect, but everybody contributed. So we each have a few poems in the book, which is really cool. So it's a wonderful collaboration. I'm the only one in Minnesota. So there's 2 in Iowa, 2 in Colorado, 1 in Oregon, and 1 in Alaska. So this was a way for us to connect across the miles when we couldn't connect in person.
Sure.
So,
so basically, did most of them join in at that point then, or were they?
Yep. And some, there's a couple of us that probably did write a poem a day.
Okay.
Others, it was a few here and there, but by the end of the month, we had over 125 poems between us, and and things were busy, and but I looked and we looked at it, and it's like, there's a book in here, and we started kind of looking at what are some themes we could pull out, and clearly cancer and COVID were two of them, and the book it's called April in Pieces, seven sisters writing on COVID and cancer. So as we kind of sorted through and gave it some time, we realized that there were some poems that were COVID related, some cancer related, and something that's always been really important. We grew up on a farm in Northeast Iowa,
Oh, okay.
and we're all nature lovers, and farm girls at heart. And so, and it's April in Minnesota and around the country, and so spring is giving us some hope at a time when things are interesting and difficult, and just a lot of fear and uncertainty.
Right.
So we wrote about, a lot of our poems are about nature and and our upbringing, our family upbringing. So those three themes emerged: shattered by the pandemic, battered by cancer, because 5 of us have been diagnosed with cancer, and then sustained by nature and by our family connection.
Hmm. And spring is obviously the season of kind of rebirth and new growth and new life, and in finding inspiration from that, even in your grief. Did you find it challenging to come up with material, or was there just enough material there that kind of flowed from each of you that you felt like was cathartic in some way?
I would say the latter. It just, what came out was meant to come out, and some of it we knew wouldn't be something that would go in a book, but as we took a look, and you have to give it time, and plus we didn't have time because things, we didn't have as much time, so it took us a while. It took us over the summer and into the fall to look at these and get some help editing,
Yeah.
and the first couple approaches didn't seem to click, and then you try another one, and then it kind of falls into place. And but it's I'm a firm believer in the value of writing, and I've been writing myself I've got journals and journals full of all kind, poems, and I write a gratitude journal. I
Hmm.
have 2,500 blog posts on a blog I've been doing since
Wow.
2012. So the writing process for me just kind of comes, and I know that some days it won't be much, and other days amazing things will come out. And I think
Sure.
what was really cool was to see my sisters, um, some who don't write that much, realize, hey, we got some good quality stuff here,
Hmm.
and and to move forward. And I did a lot of the sorting and the initial. We had never published a book before. The world of publishing is very different today, with self-publishing, with all the opportunities, that you can self-publish, and
Yeah.
you can still go through agents and publishers, and we didn't know what we were getting into, and we didn't know what the best approach would be. And so what do? You keep plugging along,
Yeah.
and and when it wasn't something, it just kind of happened, and it wasn't something we'd been working on for 5 years. It just kind of happened, and that's
Hmm.
it. Without it's one of the things that the pandemic helped push along. um you know we'd already been dealing with the cancer, and then the pandemic comes along, and whoa.
Right. So your experience with breast cancer and your sister's experience with different types of cancer, that has obviously colored what you wrote in this book. The survival that you've gone through, the loss of your sister, um, also dealing with a pandemic, and obviously there's a loss. I think all of us have lost something this year, um, whether it's just loss of time or loss of connection with our friends or our family. what were the main themes that you talked about in these poems, and what do you think that people will get from this book when they read it?
Yeah, I think each reader, may get something different from it, because we've already heard from folks who've read it that, for some it's the poems about cancer, and for others it's the nature ones, and so I think and I think they're accessible poems. They're not, they're not, and some of them are heavy in emotion, but we're not. Our style is a lot of free verse,
Mm-hmm.
so I think they're relatable that way. But I think we just try to capture, and to me, that's what poetry is. It's just capturing the emotions as they're unfolding. And interestingly, my sister Aileen, who was diagnosed in late March, she's a very, very good poet. In my opinion, the best one of the bunch. But she was reeling from her diagnosis and not able to write because it was tough.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. And my sisters who haven't had cancer, their fear and their perception and perspective on things is different than those of us who have. But we've all lost a sister. And we've all had other losses. And like you said, the pandemic, we've all gone through losses, big and small.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know that we, would recognize that or call it grief, but it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And, so I think people can relate to just it was like getting the rug pulled out from under you. We were hearing a little bit about it and hearing a little bit about it. And then within a week or two, all of a sudden, things were happening very quickly. And, my sister, a lot of times we would have probably traveled to be together, after her diagnosis. She lives in Alaska.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to do that. And that's a loss. But I think that, a lot of people turn to whatever your religious or spiritual beliefs are. I think there's a lot of common ground with nature and the changing seasons. And, I find a lot of gratitude and a lot of grace and, power beyond myself, whatever you want to call that,
Yeah.
in nature. And springtime is full of hope and new life. So I think that really helped as the days got longer, daylight. Now we're dealing with the opposite at a tough time. But it certainly helped then. So
Yeah. Um, well, I'm very inspired that you wanted to do this, that you did do this, that I think people in Hastings and around the country can see this and can see and take some inspiration from it. That you've had some hard times, but you've been able to bounce back in a way and been able to put your energies into something that's productive and that may help other people as well deal with their own loss and their own feelings, especially around a cancer diagnosis or dealing with cancer and the loss of a relative, but also through COVID and how challenging that has been for all of us, whether it's losing a loved one through illness or just losing your business or the economic uncertainties of things. It's been a scary year, I think, all the way around for everyone, regardless of what's how things have affected us. So it's good to have a ray of hope out there.
well, and that's what, when we organized it, we wanted it to end on and I think you have to have, you can't appreciate the good times and the joy without having some of the difficulties, and some of the struggles and the grief. But we wanted to end on that more hopeful note. And I think that we did that. And, that's, if that appeals to readers and when they're done. And it's, you know, it's a book of poetry. It's not a long read, and
Yeah.
there's no rules. There's no rules to reading anyway. But you know, you could pick it up and read a couple pages, and something might speak to you, or you could read it from cover to cover. And you know, it's just meant to be what you know, hopefully what speaks to you, and if it inspires someone else to do some of their own writing, I think that's great too, or to share with someone else they think might appreciate it. And we're
Sure.
just thrilled that it's out there, and
Yeah.
thrilled that the seven of us collaborated on it. So
Well, and it's something that you'll always have together, you know.
right.
And those of you, I'm assuming some of you might have children.
Well, we have between us children, grandchildren.
Okay.
You know, we have a large family. We have 5 brothers too, so we have a very large family, and
That's
it's
great.
you know, it's
Yeah.
growing more. So yeah, we have and you know, living in various states, we've got our communities
Hmm.
and friends in those areas too. And my sister Mary Jo lived in Colorado, the one who died in June of 2019. You know, so and we dedicated the book to her. And there are a couple of the poems are about her, but we know that she would have, you know, she inspired us. She was with us. If she would have been still here, she would have written some too, because
Yeah.
she was known to write poetry. So
Great. Great. Well, I'm definitely inspired by that, and I think other people will be too. So if they would like to pick up this book, you're on Amazon, which is very cool. I Googled this on Amazon, and here you are. It's April in Pieces: Seven Sisters writing on COVID and cancer. And when did you finish this up? When was this officially published?
in November, early November, I believe,
Okay.
November 6th. So, and that was, you know, part of the process of figuring out how to publish, and we did go through, you know, through Amazon, but we now have copies available. I mean, so it can be purchased on Amazon, but we also have copies available. Again, we're from Northeast Iowa, the Winneshiek County area.
Okay.
So there's three local businesses down there that have copies. And here in Hastings, Quaint and Quirky
Yeah.
downtown has
Mhm.
copies, and a bookstore of Hastings on Vermilion, right off the bridge. He also has copies, and I will be there on Saturday, this Saturday, December 19th, uh, doing a COVID protocol book signing.
Book
So it'll
signing.
be
Okay.
my first my first book signing, from 3 to 4 at a bookstore of Hastings. 310 Vermilion is the address. But happy to, you know, see people, talk about the book, sign copies. Copies can be purchased there, and again, we'll be following COVID protocol. So
Okay. Okay. Great. Um, I'm just looking on Amazon here. It's 51 pages, so it's a quick read, and it's something that you may read once through, or you may take a moment and kind of reflect on each one, or however you like to read this type of literature, this type of poetry. And obviously, as time goes on and as we all get our shots, hopefully we can do a larger group or a larger setting, and have you possibly do a reading or something like that would be nice.
that would be great. I look
So,
forward to that.
yeah, well, great. And then do you have, as far as your career, your blog out there, where would people find out more about you and um, how you share your writing abilities with the rest of the world? Where can we look for more, your blog especially?
Well, my blog is titled Habitual Gratitude, which was inspired by my oldest sister, the name of the blog. And it's Habitual Gratitude. If you Google Habitual Gratitude, but it's Blogspot. And I also posted on Facebook.
Okay.
And So and gratitude is a theme that runs through a lot of my writing. I also host the Rivertown Gratefulness Gatherings, which are held monthly, and we've been doing those via Zoom for the last several months.
Nice.
But yeah, my blog is, like I said, I've been blogging since 2012. My career-wise, I'm a middle school counselor, so it's been an interesting time. But and I did also write a column for the Hastings Star-Gazette for 5 years, and that was titled Gratitude Flow. So again, that gratitude theme. And when I say gratitude, I'm talking about taking the time to pause and notice what's going on, not the just the deeper sense of gratitude doesn't it doesn't boot out the negative and the tough stuff that happens, because those will happen.
Yeah.
It makes it more possible to get through them, and it gives me the right kind of energy. To me, practicing gratitude is about creating good energy that can help me and the people around me. So there's a little plug for living gratefully as well. But that's not about glossing over the tough stuff. It's about going through it and seeing what we see differently when we come out the other side.
Sure. Well, I think we can all take some advice from that, or take some learning from that, because it's really it's called life, isn't it? Where things are not always rosy, even though you may think life is a straight line. It sure isn't.
Right.
So, well, I'm definitely interested in reading more about this, and in reading your book, and then also reading your blog. I'm definitely very intrigued by that. And if people would like to see Lisa this Saturday at a bookstore of Hastings at 310 Vermilion Street here in Hastings from 3 to 4 p.m. this Saturday, that is December 19th. Okay. And so it would make a great Christmas present. It would make a great stocking stuffer, so to speak. And so I'd encourage people to get out there, and then also check out Lisa's blog as well. So, Lisa, thank you. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention about your book, or about your blog, or anything that you're doing?
I just think follow your passions, and it's never too late. I'm the youngest of the sisters, and I'm 55. So it's never too late to publish your first book, if that's a dream, or whatever your dream may be. And there's, even though we can't connect in the ways we would like to, writing and is one of the ways that we can stay connected, and that can, even if it's a text message or an email or a handwritten note, or picking up a book.
Lisa, thank you so much again, and encourage people to go see you here this Saturday and read more about your book, and reach out to you. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Tom. Glad to be here.